Hello viewers, welcome back. So it's been a few years since I first took up reviewing as an active hobby, and from the very beginning the goal was to try and get a review out each month. That may not seem like much when you look at how many reviewers manage to put out videos like every Tuesday or whatnot, but that's what I deemed to be a reasonable expectation for myself. Unfortunately, there are times when even a single video a month seems optimistic. I'd kind of forgotten how time-consuming it was to be a full-time student with a job. With 3 papers due in the first week of March and all my other responsibilities to keep up with, it was looking like I might have to skip out on this month's review. But I believe I found a solution I can hopefully stick to from now on. Whenever life gets too busy for me to have time for a full-length series, I'm going to watch a movie or an extremely short series instead. Like today. The entire story of Kaori Ozaki's The God's Lie is completed in a single manga volume. I've never really read a short manga story, and I was originally worried it would end up feeling rushed, especially given the subject matter, but The God's Lie ended up being one of the best manga I've ever read, and not just because I haven't finished most of the other ones I'm reading. Meet Natsuru, a relatively average 11-year-old who moved to town at the beginning of the school year. And at the beginning of the story, he really is just a regular kid. He may be the new kid, but he's made friends, joined the soccer team, and his biggest problem is just that he's awkward around girls. Like I said, just an average kid. But that changes during his first summer vacation in this new town. He runs into Ryo Suzumura, one of his classmates, and her younger brother Yuta one night, and the 3 bond over a stray cat. Natsuru is intrigued by Ryo from the very start. She doesn't have any friends, and it's really hard for her to relate to other kids their age, and he soon finds out why. After helping them carry their groceries home and agreeing to stay for dinner, Ryo tells him that it's just her and her brother in the house, taking care of themselves, and she makes him promise to keep their secret, afraid of what'll happen if the media gets a hold of a story like this. This has quite an impact on Natsuru, who suddenly has a new appreciation for just how easy he has it, even though it's just him and his mom, and they're not exactly well off either. The knowledge of Ryo and Yuta's situation kind of starts to haunt him, and this, combined with the way he's been butting heads with the new coach, causes him to ditch his soccer camp for the summer and stay with the Suzumura siblings instead. What follows is kind of magical in a way that only children's stories can be. Their summer days feel very removed from the rest of the world, and if you want to stay spoiler-free, I suggest you leave the video here. Just know that it gets kind of dark, and I definitely recommend you go get your own copy to read. If you're planning to stay, well, unfortunately, this is the kind of magic that has to end eventually. There comes a point where you have to take a step back and realize just how young they really are to be living on their own and shouldering so many adult responsibilities, and Natsuru starts wondering how things ended up this way. Ryo tells him her mom left a long time ago and her dad went out to try his luck on a crab boat in Alaska, and that he promised to be back by the summer festival. But that date comes and goes, and he's nowhere to be seen, and the end of Chapter 3 marks a drastic tone shift in the story. At first, Ryo's dad comes across as a little eccentric and childish, but well-meaning. It comes up over dinner that they can only afford imitation crab, and he jumps up with this crazy idea that he's going to go to Alaska and catch them the real thing. He leaves them with their grandfather, who's really not fit enough to look after 2 children, with the promise that when he returns, all their money troubles will be over. Ryo lets slip that she was basically doing all the housework anyway, and her dad uses that to guilt her into agreeing with him. In a very, "you've always been so responsible, you can take care of things for a little while, right?" kind of way. And they do manage for a while, until Ryo comes home one day to find Yuta sitting beside their grandfather's body where he fell from the stairs. And this was the most powerful scene to me. Rio tries desperately to get in contact with their father, to no avail, and finally she's forced to drag him outside and bury him herself. This is the moment where Rio really stops being a child, and it was sad in a tragic, sickening sort of way. The trio's carefree days come to an abrupt end when Natsuru finds the grave Rio dug in their backyard. He's horrified and runs off, but he's still bound by his promise to keep their secret, and now that's weighing on him more than ever. Meanwhile, things are going even worse for Rio, who runs into their dad in town with some woman. Turns out he never went to Alaska, he just couldn't handle the responsibility of being a father anymore. Up until this point, Rio had been hanging on to the hope that her father would return soon, even though he missed the festival. Now there's no end in sight, and she falls into a deep depression. Ultimately, Natsuru shows up for the trio to go on one last summer adventure, and the police do get involved. But I won't go into details of the very end. Just know that it's wrapped up really well. As I was reading The God's Lie, I found I was reminded quite a bit of Tokyo Magnitude 8.0, which is the story of a young woman and a pair of siblings who come together to find a way back home after being dislocated by an earthquake. The God's Lie showcased a much more personal, smaller-scale tragedy, but the trios had similar dynamics. I ended that review on the note that everyone should watch it at least once, even if it's not typically your genre of choice. The story was just that powerful, and I feel the same way here. On top of that, there's more than one level on which the story is enjoyable. I found there were certain things that would appeal to kids and make things seem really authentic, like Rio being taller than the most of the boys in class being a big deal. And then there's another side to the story that I don't feel can truly be appreciated until you're an adult. The depth of the tragedy of two kids being abandoned by their parents and forced to grow up so soon. So even if you stayed for the spoilers, I strongly recommend you go check out The God's Lie for yourself. Thank you for watching.